One costly mistake can hold back a facility manager's career, treating facility management as simply a day-to-day operations job instead of a strategic business role. In the CFM exam, you need to understand how leadership, strategy, and communication connect facility operations to the bigger goals of an organization. In this first section, we'll move beyond the boiler room and into the boardroom, showing you how to communicate your value, advocate for your team, secure funding, and make decisions that create real business impact. Stay with me through this complete 6-section CFM exam study guide, because near the end, I'll share practical tips that can help you prepare more effectively and make passing the IFMA Certified Facility Manager exam much easier. And if you want extra help, I've also included a free CFM study guide with some of the most important questions in the description, so make sure you check it out after watching the complete video. The absolute foundation of facility leadership is strategic alignment, which means making sure your facility department's goals match the overall goals of the entire company. If the executive board wants to reduce costs by 10% this year, your facility strategy must include specific energy savings or operational efficiencies to help them get there. When you align your goals with the corporate vision, you transform facility management from a pure expense into a valuable asset. This alignment is what gets you a seat at the executive table, allowing you to influence major business decisions. On the exam, always look for answers that connect daily facility actions to broader business outcomes. One of the most effective tools for proving this alignment is the balanced scorecard, a performance metric system that looks beyond just financial numbers. It evaluates your facility operations from 4 distinct perspectives, which are financial, customer, internal processes, and learning or growth. By using a balanced scorecard, you can show executives that you are not only saving money, but also improving tenant satisfaction and training your staff. It provides a complete and balanced picture of your department's true value to the organization. For the test, remember that the balanced scorecard is your primary method for translating high-level strategy into measurable, everyday facility goals. Creating a strategic plan for your facility involves a continuous cycle of planning, executing, measuring, and adjusting. You start by analyzing your current situation, often using a SWOT analysis to identify your strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. This honest assessment helps you understand what your facility team does well and where you are vulnerable to risks like aging equipment or sudden budget cuts. Once you know exactly where you stand, you can set long-term objectives that address your weaknesses and capitalize on your opportunities. Exam questions frequently test your ability to follow this logical, step-by-step planning process rather than just making reactive or emotional decisions. It is very important to understand the difference between leadership and management, as the certification exam heavily emphasizes this distinction. Management is about organizing resources, maintaining schedules, and making sure the daily work gets done correctly and safely. Leadership, on the other hand, is about setting a vision, inspiring your team, and driving organizational change for the future. A good facility manager must be able to manage the daily maintenance tickets while simultaneously leading the transition to a modern hybrid work model. When taking the exam, remember that complex organizational problems usually require strong leadership rather than just better management checklists. Implementing any new facility strategy requires excellent change management, which is the process of helping people adapt to new ways of working. People naturally resist change, whether you are introducing a new open office seating arrangement or launching a new software system for maintenance requests. As a facility leader, you must communicate the reasons behind the change clearly and involve your staff early in the process so they feel heard and valued. A common mistake candidates make on the exam is assuming that simply sending a company-wide memo is enough to manage change. True change management requires ongoing support, training, and open dialogue to overcome natural human resistance. To keep all these moving parts organized, every major facility initiative needs a formal communication plan. This plan identifies exactly who needs to be informed, what specific information they need, how often they need it, and what communication channels will be used. For example, your overnight janitorial staff might need daily briefings in person, while the executive board might only need a monthly financial dashboard sent via email. Tailoring your message and your medium to the specific audience ensures that everyone is on the same page and no one feels left out. Exam questions will often ask you to choose the most appropriate communication method for a specific group of stakeholders. Before you can communicate effectively, You must identify your stakeholders, who are all the people affected by your facility operations. Stakeholders include your internal team, the employees working in the building, executive leadership, and external partners like vendors and local government officials. Each of these groups has completely different priorities, ranging from workplace comfort and safety to regulatory compliance and strict budget control. Mapping out these stakeholders helps you anticipate their concerns and address them proactively before they turn into major problems. The exam frequently tests your ability to balance the competing needs of these different stakeholder groups. One of the most critical communication skills for a facility manager is active listening, which means fully concentrating on what is being said rather than just waiting for your turn to speak. When a department head complains passionately about the temperature in their office, active listening helps you uncover if the real issue is the HVAC system or if they are simply stressed about a major project deadline. By asking clarifying questions and summarizing what you heard, you build trust and show genuine empathy for their situation. On the exam, if a question involves a conflict or a complaint, the best first step is almost always to listen actively and gather more information. Speaking of conflict, facility managers deal with it constantly, from disputes over assigned office space to disagreements with difficult external contractors. The most effective approach to conflict resolution is the collaborative method, also known as a win-win approach. This involves working directly with the other party to find a solution that satisfies the core needs of everyone involved, rather than just forcing your own agenda or avoiding the issue entirely. While collaboration takes more time than simply giving orders, it preserves important working relationships for the future. You will likely see exam scenarios where you have to choose between compromising, forcing, avoiding, or collaborating to solve a serious dispute. Leading a facility team also means developing your staff through regular and honest performance appraisals. These evaluations should never be a surprise to the employee, as you should be providing continuous, constructive feedback throughout the entire year. A formal appraisal is a time to review past performance, but more importantly, it is an opportunity to set future career goals and identify specific training needs. By investing in your team's professional development, you improve staff retention and build a much more capable facility department. Exam questions often highlight the importance of using appraisals for constructive development rather than just as a tool for punitive discipline. In modern facility management, you will frequently lead cross-functional teams, which are groups made up of people from different departments like human resources, information technology, and finance. When planning a major office relocation, for instance, you need IT to handle the network infrastructure, HR to manage employee communications, and finance to approve the moving budgets. Leading these complex teams requires excellent influence and negotiation skills, because you usually do not have direct authority over these individuals. You must guide them toward a common goal by emphasizing shared benefits and maintaining perfectly clear communication. The exam will test your ability to foster collaboration across these different departmental silos. When you need approval for a new initiative or expensive equipment, you must present a compelling business case to your executive leadership. A business case is a formal document that outlines the problem, proposes a specific solution, and justifies the required investment by showing the expected financial return. It must speak the language of business, focusing heavily on cost savings, risk reduction, or productivity gains, rather than just using technical facility jargon. If you want a new chiller, you cannot just say the old one is noisy. You must prove that the new one will pay for itself in energy savings over 5 years. Passing the CFM exam requires knowing how to translate facility needs into solid, undeniable business proposals. Today's facility strategies must also deeply incorporate corporate social responsibility, or CSR, which reflects the company's commitment to ethical and sustainable practices. Facility managers play a massive role in CSR by reducing energy consumption, improving waste management programs, and ensuring fair labor practices with local vendors. When your facility initiatives actively support the company's CSR goals, you enhance the corporate reputation and make the workplace much more attractive to top talent. CSR is no longer just a corporate buzzword. It is a core business strategy that you must integrate into your daily operations. Expect the exam to link ethical facility management directly to global corporate responsibility efforts. To ensure your strategy is actually working as intended, you need a quality management system to constantly monitor and improve your service delivery. This involves setting clear service level agreements, or SLAs, and measuring your team's performance against those standards on a regular basis. If your SLA states that routine work orders must be completed within 48 hours, your quality system tracks that exact metric and flags any dips in performance. Continuous improvement, often associated with methodologies like Six Sigma or total quality management, is a recurring theme in facility leadership. The exam wants to see that you manage your department by facts and data, not just by intuition or guesswork. A major strategic decision every facility manager faces is whether to perform services in-house using direct employees or to outsource them to external contractors. Outsourcing can save money and provide access to highly specialized expertise, like advanced elevator maintenance or complex digital security systems. However, outsourcing also means giving up some direct, daily control over the workforce and relying heavily on careful, strict contract management. Your strategy must carefully weigh the risks and benefits of each approach based on your company's core competencies and long-term goals. On the exam, you must demonstrate the ability to make objective sourcing decisions that protect the organization's best interests. Many facility managers forget the absolute importance of internally marketing their department to the rest of the company. If you do not tell your story and share your successes, employees will only ever notice you when the roof leaks or the power goes out. You should regularly publish newsletters, host facility tours, or share success metrics to highlight exactly how your team improves the workplace experience every day. Internal marketing builds incredible goodwill, making it much easier to ask for patience during disruptive maintenance or to request budget increases next year. The exam highly values proactive communication that elevates the perception and respect of the facility department. Ethical decision-making is a strict cornerstone of facility leadership and is heavily scrutinized on the certification exam. You will inevitably face situations involving vendor kickbacks, conflicts of interest, or intense pressure from leadership to cut corners on safety regulations to save money. The IFMA Code of Ethics requires you to act with absolute integrity, transparency, and fairness in all your professional dealings, without exception. If an exam question presents an ethical dilemma, the correct answer is always the one that upholds the highest moral standard, even if it is the most difficult or expensive path. Maintaining strict ethical boundaries protects both you and your organization from devastating legal and reputational damage. Finally, true leadership is tested most severely during a crisis, such as a natural disaster, a total power grid failure, or a major security breach. In these high-stress situations, your team and your company will look directly to you for calm, decisive, and clear direction. Crisis leadership requires you to rely heavily on your pre-planned emergency procedures while remaining flexible enough to adapt to rapidly changing and dangerous conditions. Clear, concise communication is your most important tool to prevent panic and coordinate an effective, safe response. The exam will heavily challenge your ability to prioritize life safety above all else and maintain total control during unexpected facility emergencies. Congratulations on successfully completing this first section on leadership, strategy, and communication. I highly encourage you to complete the attached practice test right now, while these important concepts are still fresh in your mind. Practice questions are proven to dramatically improve your long-term retention and build the exact confidence you need for exam day. The practice test is included directly with this lesson, so take full advantage of it to reinforce everything we just covered. Keep up this excellent active learning, and I look forward to seeing you in the next section where we will tackle the critical world of finance and business management. Welcome to the second section of our course, where we dive into finance and business management. In this lesson, you will learn how to speak the universal language of business, which is money. This topic is incredibly important because even the best facility ideas cannot happen without the proper funding and financial approval. We are going to demystify budgets, contracts, and financial reports so you can confidently secure the resources your facility needs. Get ready to transform from a facility operator into a true financial asset for your organization. The first major concept to understand is the difference between an operating budget and a capital budget. Your operating budget covers the everyday expenses needed to keep the doors open, like utility bills, routine maintenance, and janitorial supplies. In contrast, your capital budget is reserved for major, long-term investments, such as replacing a roof or buying a new building automation system. Mixing these two up is a common mistake candidates make on the exam. Always remember that operating funds keep the lights on today, while capital funds invest in the building for tomorrow. When it comes time to build your operating budget, many facility managers use incremental budgeting. This method simply takes last year's actual expenses and adds a small percentage increase to account for inflation or expected cost hikes. It is a very quick and easy way to create a budget, but it assumes that your previous spending was perfectly efficient. The danger of incremental budgeting is that it can hide wasteful spending year after year. For the exam, recognize that while this method is common, it is not always the most strategic choice for finding long-term cost savings. A more rigorous approach you must know for the exam is zero-based budgeting. Unlike incremental budgeting, this method forces you to start at zero every single year and completely justify every single penny you plan to spend. If you want $100,000 for landscaping, you have to prove exactly why you need it, regardless of what you spent last year. This approach is highly effective for eliminating waste and realigning your facility spending with the current goals of the company. However, zero-based budgeting is incredibly time-consuming, which is its main operational drawback. Once your budget is approved, you must track your spending using variance analysis. This is simply the process of comparing what you actually spent against what you plan to spend in a given month. If you budgeted $5,000 for snow removal, but spent $10,000 because of an unusually harsh winter, you have a negative variance that you must clearly explain to leadership. Regularly monitoring these variances allows you to catch financial problems early and adjust your spending before the end of the year. The exam will expect you to know how to use variance reports to maintain strict budget control. When purchasing new facility equipment, you must always use lifecycle costing. This means looking at the total cost of owning an asset over its entire useful life, not just the initial purchase price. A cheap air conditioning unit might save you money on day one, but it could cost you a fortune in high energy bills and constant repairs over the next 10 years. Life cycle costing adds up the purchase price, operating costs, maintenance, and eventual disposal fees. On the exam, always choose the option that considers the long-term financial impact rather than just the cheapest initial bid. To convince executives to approve your capital projects, you will often need to calculate the return on investment, commonly known as ROI. This metric measures the financial benefit of an investment compared to its cost, usually expressed as a clear percentage. If you spend $50,000 on LED lighting and it saves you $10,000 a year in electricity, that is a clear and measurable financial return. Executives love ROI because it makes comparing completely different projects very simple and objective. You must be comfortable explaining how your facility upgrades will deliver a positive return on the company's investment. Another financial metric you will frequently use is the payback period. This tells you exactly how long it will take for a project to pay for itself through generated cost savings. Using our lighting example, if the upgrade costs $50,000 and saves $10,000 a year, your payback period is exactly 5 years. Business leaders often have strict corporate rules, such as only approving projects with a payback period of 3 years or less. For the CFM exam, understand that a shorter payback period always makes a project much more attractive to financial decision makers. You must also understand the concept of depreciation, which is how businesses account for the declining value of a physical asset over time. When you buy a heavy-duty commercial boiler, it does not hold its original value forever. It slowly wears out and eventually needs to be replaced. Depreciation allows the company to spread the massive cost of that boiler over its expected useful life for accounting and tax purposes. While you do not need to be a certified accountant, the exam requires you to know that physical facility assets lose value over time and must be tracked financially. Let us transition to procurement, which is the formal process of acquiring goods and services from external vendors. A good procurement process guarantees that your company gets the best possible value while ensuring fairness and transparency. It usually starts with writing a clear scope of work that details exactly what you need a vendor to do, down to the smallest detail. Without a crystal clear scope of work, vendors will give you wildly different prices, making it impossible to compare their bids fairly. The exam will constantly stress that a successful procurement always begins with perfectly defined requirements. When you are ready to solicit bids for complex services, you will typically issue a request for proposal, or RFP. An RFP is a formal document sent to potential vendors, asking them to submit a detailed plan and a price for completing your project. Unlike a simple request for a price quote on a standardized product, an RFP asks the vendor to provide creative solutions, methodologies, and evidence of their past experience. It is the best tool to use when you are hiring a company for major services like comprehensive facility maintenance or large-scale construction. Knowing when to use an RFP versus a simple price request is a common test question. Evaluating the responses to your RFP is a critical skill that requires absolute objectivity. The best practice is to use a weighted scoring matrix, which is a simple tool that assigns a specific point value to different criteria like price, experience, and safety record. By deciding the exact weights before you even read the proposals, you remove personal bias and ensure a totally fair selection process. You might decide that safety is worth 40% of the final score, while price is only worth 30%. The exam highly favors using standardized, objective methods like this for selecting your facility contractors. Once you select a vendor, you must establish a binding contract, and you need to know the different types of contracts available. A fixed price contract, also known as a lump sum contract, is exactly what it sounds like. The vendor agrees to do the entire job for one specific, unchanging price, regardless of how long it takes them or how much the materials end up costing. This is great for your budget because it shifts the financial risk entirely onto the contractor. However, vendors will often inflate their fixed price slightly to protect themselves against unexpected problems. Another common contract type is the time and materials contract, where you pay the vendor for the actual hours they work and the exact materials they use. This is very useful for emergency repairs or projects where the scope of work is totally unknown or difficult to define up front. If a pipe bursts behind a wall, you cannot get a fixed price because no one knows the extent of the hidden water damage yet. The danger here is that the vendor has no financial incentive to work quickly, so the final bill can escalate rapidly if you are not careful. The exam will test your ability to match the right contract type to the specific situation. A vital component of any facility contract is the service level agreement, commonly called an SLA. This section of the contract defines the exact performance standards the vendor must meet, such as response times, cleanliness scores, or equipment uptime. For example, an SLA might require a snow removal vendor to clear the parking lot within 2 hours of the snow completely stopping. If the vendor fails to meet these specific standards, the SLA usually includes financial penalties or grounds for immediate contract termination. You must understand that an SLA is your primary tool for holding vendors accountable for their daily performance. Signing the contract is only the beginning. You must also manage contract administration to ensure the vendor actually delivers what they promised. This involves conducting regular site inspections, auditing vendor invoices for accuracy, and holding quarterly performance review meetings. Many facility managers make the critical mistake of filing the contract in a drawer and forgetting about it until a major problem suddenly occurs. Active contract management prevents small service failures from turning into massive operational disasters that disrupt the workplace. Exam questions will focus heavily on your responsibility to continuously monitor external vendors throughout the life of the contract. In many organizations, facility managers use a chargeback system to manage internal department costs. A chargeback is an accounting method where the facility department bills other internal departments for the specific facility services or extra space they use. If the marketing department wants their offices painted a custom color, the facility team manages the project but charges the final cost directly back to the marketing budget. This system is brilliant because it makes individual departments financially responsible for their own special requests, preventing them from treating facility services like free money. Understanding how chargebacks control internal demand is a key concept for the exam. Financial management in facilities also heavily involves risk management, specifically through insurance and liability coverage. You must ensure that every single vendor who steps onto your property has adequate liability insurance and workers' compensation coverage. If an uninsured contractor gets hurt on your roof, your company could be held entirely legally responsible for their massive medical bills. Collecting and verifying up-to-date certificates of insurance is a non-negotiable administrative task for any facility leader. The exam frequently emphasizes the facility manager's role in protecting the organization from catastrophic financial liabilities. We must also revisit ethics, this time specifically within the realm of finance and procurement. When you are managing multi-million-dollar budgets and awarding large contracts, the temptation and opportunity for fraud are very real. You must strictly avoid any conflict of interest, such as hiring a contractor owned by your family member, or accepting expensive gifts from a vendor bidding on a project. Maintaining transparent financial records and requiring multiple blind bids for every large purchase protects both the company's money and your personal reputation. Ethical financial management is a core competency that the certification board guards fiercely. Congratulations on completing this challenging section on finance and business management. I strongly encourage you to complete the attached practice test right now to lock in your understanding of these crucial financial concepts. Working through practice questions improves your memory retention and ensures you are totally ready for the real certification exam. Remember that the practice test is included directly with this lesson to support your active learning journey. Keep up this fantastic momentum, and I will see you in the next section where we will explore operations, maintenance, and quality management. Welcome to the third section of our course, focusing on operations, maintenance, and quality. In this lesson, you will learn how to keep your buildings running safely, efficiently, and comfortably for all occupants. This topic is incredibly important because the physical environment directly impacts employee productivity and the overall success of the business. We are going to explore the nuts and bolts of facility management, from complex building systems to proactive maintenance strategies. Get ready to dive into the daily operations that make you the true heartbeat of the organization. Operations and maintenance, often called O&M, represents the largest portion of a facility manager's daily responsibilities. Operations refers to the daily activities that keep the building functioning smoothly, like cleaning, security, and managing utility usage. Maintenance, on the other hand, involves the physical repairs and upkeep of the building's equipment and structure to prevent unexpected breakdowns. Together, these two functions ensure that the facility remains a safe and productive environment for everyone inside. For the exam, you must view O&M not just as fixing broken things, but as a proactive strategy to extend the life of expensive building assets. The most basic level of maintenance is reactive maintenance, which is often referred to as run to failure or break fix. In this approach, you simply wait for a piece of equipment to completely break down before you spend any time or money to repair it. While this might seem cheap in the short term, it is actually the most expensive and disruptive way to manage a facility. When a major system like an air conditioner fails on the hottest day of the year, emergency repair costs are extremely high and tenant frustration is immense. The exam will heavily penalize management strategies that rely too much on reactive maintenance for critical building systems. To avoid those costly emergencies, you must implement a strong preventative maintenance program, commonly known as PM. Preventative maintenance involves scheduling regular inspections, cleaning, and parts replacements based on calendar dates or equipment run times. Think of it exactly like changing the oil in your car every 5,000 miles to prevent the engine from destroying itself. By spending a little money on routine care, you dramatically extend the useful life of your equipment and avoid catastrophic failures. Exam questions will constantly push you toward preventative maintenance as the standard best practice for facility operations. The next evolution in taking care of your building is predictive maintenance, which uses technology to foresee problems before they happen. Instead of just changing a filter every 3 months, predictive maintenance uses sensors to measure the actual airflow and tells you exactly when the filter is too dirty. Techniques like infrared thermography can show you a hot spot in an electrical panel long before it actually starts a fire. While the initial setup for predictive technology is expensive, it saves massive amounts of money by ensuring you only perform maintenance when it is absolutely necessary. You should recognize predictive maintenance on the test as the most advanced and efficient maintenance strategy. Another advanced concept you need to know is reliability-centered maintenance, or RCM. This strategy recognizes that not all equipment in your building is equally important, so they should not all receive the exact same level of maintenance. For example, a backup power generator for a hospital operating room needs the highest level of predictive and preventative care possible. However, a small exhaust fan in a storage closet might be perfectly fine to leave on a simple run-to-failure reactive plan. The exam will test your ability to prioritize your maintenance budget by focusing on the equipment that is most critical to the organization's core mission. To manage all of these different maintenance tasks, every modern facility department relies on a computerized maintenance management system, or CMMS. This software acts as the central brain for your entire operations, tracking work orders, scheduling preventative maintenance, and managing your spare parts inventory. When a tenant submits a complaint about a leaky faucet, the CMMS automatically routes the ticket to the right plumber and tracks how long it takes to fix. It also stores the entire repair history of every piece of equipment, giving you the data you need to decide if a machine should be repaired or completely replaced. Understanding the value of a CMMS for tracking and reporting is essential for passing the exam. A major part of operations is understanding core building systems, starting with heating, ventilation, and air conditioning, known as HVAC. The HVAC system is usually the most expensive equipment in your building and the largest consumer of energy. Its primary job is not just to control the temperature, but also to manage indoor air quality by bringing in fresh outside air and filtering out dust and pollutants. Proper HVAC maintenance is absolutely critical because poor indoor air quality directly leads to sick employees, lower productivity, and increased complaints. The exam expects you to know that HVAC management is a delicate balance between occupant comfort and energy efficiency. To control the HVAC and other complex equipment efficiently, large facilities use a building automation system, or BAS. This is a centralized digital network that connects your heating, cooling, lighting, and security systems so they can all talk to each other. A BAS can automatically turn on the lights and adjust the temperature in a conference room just minutes before a scheduled meeting begins, and then turn everything off when the room is empty. This smart technology eliminates human error and dramatically reduces energy waste. You will likely see questions asking how a BAS contributes to both operational efficiency and sustainability goals. Efficient daily operations heavily rely on an organized work order management process. When a problem is reported, it must be logged, prioritized, assigned, completed, and then closed out with accurate notes. Prioritization is especially important because a smell of natural gas is a life safety emergency that must be handled instantly, while a burnt-out light bulb over a desk can wait a day or two. If you do not prioritize correctly, your team will waste time on minor issues while major emergencies escalate out of control. The test will frequently present you with multiple maintenance scenarios and ask you to identify which one must be addressed first. Just like we discussed with external vendors, you also need service level agreements, or SLAs, for your own internal facility team. Internal SLAs set clear expectations for the rest of the company about how quickly your team will respond to different types of requests. By publishing these standards, you stop employees from demanding instant service for minor problems, because the agreed upon SLA clearly states they will get a response within 48 hours. Meeting these internal SLAs consistently is the best way to prove the reliability and professionalism of your facility department. Expect the exam to link SLAs directly to managing customer expectations and measuring internal team performance. Delivering excellent facility services requires a formal commitment to quality, often guided by Total Quality Management, or TQM principles. TQM is a philosophy that says everyone in the organization, from the facility director to the night janitor, is responsible for continuously improving the quality of the workplace. It focuses heavily on standardizing processes so that a bathroom is cleaned the exact same high-quality way every single time, no matter who is working that shift. On the exam, TQM is characterized by a relentless focus on customer satisfaction and eliminating errors through standardized, repeatable procedures. To know if your quality management efforts are actually working, you must track key performance indicators, known as KPIs. KPIs are specific, measurable numbers that tell you the health of your facility operations, such as the average time it takes to complete a work order or the total number of safety incidents this month. If your KPI for work order completion suddenly jumps from 2 days to 5 days, you immediately know there is a problem with staffing or parts availability that you must fix. The certification board wants to see that you manage your facility using hard data and clear metrics rather than just guessing. Another crucial tool for evaluating your operations is benchmarking, which is the process of comparing your facility's performance metrics against similar buildings in your industry. If you spend $3 per square foot on cleaning, benchmarking tells you if that number is excellent, average, or terribly expensive compared to other corporate offices in your city. This comparison helps you identify areas where you are falling behind and provides solid evidence when you need to ask leadership for a larger budget. Exam questions often highlight benchmarking as the most objective way to measure your facility's true market competitiveness. Operations also involves managing the physical space, specifically dealing with churn rate. Churn rate is the percentage of your workforce that moves to a different desk or office within a single year. High churn is incredibly expensive and disruptive, as it requires the facility team to constantly move furniture, reprogram phones, and update floor plans. A smart facility manager designs flexible workspaces with modular furniture to make these inevitable moves much faster and cheaper. The exam will expect you to understand how high churn impacts your operational budget and how flexible design can mitigate those costs. While maintaining the heavy machinery is important, operations also heavily relies on soft services, which are the services that directly affect the human experience in the building. Soft services include janitorial work, landscaping, pest control, cafeteria management, and mailroom operations. While a broken chiller is a major problem, a dirty bathroom or a rude security guard will generate far more daily complaints from the employees. Balancing your time between managing the hard technical systems and these vital soft services is a key concept for creating a positive workplace environment. Taking a closer look at janitorial services, this is often the most visible aspect of facility quality to the average employee. Modern cleaning operations have shifted away from simply emptying trash cans toward a focus on health and hygiene, known as cleaning for wellness. This means using environmentally friendly green cleaning chemicals and focusing heavily on sanitizing high-touch surfaces like door handles and elevator buttons to prevent the spread of illness. The exam will expect you to know that effective janitorial management protects occupant health just as much as it maintains the building's appearance. Efficient maintenance operations cannot happen without proper inventory management for spare parts and supplies. If an air handler breaks down, your mechanic cannot fix it if the required replacement belt is not sitting in the stockroom. However, keeping too many spare parts ties up valuable company money that could be used elsewhere, and rubber belts can degrade if they sit on a shelf for years. You must find the perfect balance by keeping critical parts on hand while ordering less important items just in time for scheduled repairs. The exam frequently tests your ability to balance parts availability with strict inventory cost control. Tying all of this together is the concept of continuous improvement, often executed through the Plan, Do, Check, Act cycle, or PDCA. You plan a new maintenance process, you do it by testing it on a small scale, you check the results against your KPIs, and you act to implement the process permanently if it worked. This simple four-step cycle ensures that your facility department is never stagnant and is always looking for small, incremental ways to become faster, cheaper, and better. For the exam, recognize the PDCA cycle as the foundational framework for solving operational problems and driving ongoing quality improvements. Congratulations on successfully completing this detailed section on operations, maintenance, and quality. I highly encourage you to complete the attached practice test right now, while these critical concepts about building systems and maintenance strategies are still fresh in your mind. Practice questions are proven to dramatically improve your long-term retention and build the exact confidence you need for exam day. The practice test is included directly with this lesson, so take full advantage of it to reinforce everything we just covered. Keep up this excellent active learning, and I look forward to seeing you in the next section where we will tackle project management and technology. Welcome to the fourth section of our course, focusing on project management and technology. In this lesson, you will learn the exact frameworks needed to successfully execute facility upgrades, from small renovations to massive technological implementations. This topic is critically important because facility managers are constantly managing projects that require strict adherence to budgets, timelines, and quality standards. We are going to explore the entire project lifecycle and the cutting-edge smart building technologies that are transforming our industry. Get ready to master the tools that will help you deliver complex facility initiatives on time and under budget. First, we must clearly define what a project actually is, as it differs greatly from your daily facility operations. A project is a temporary endeavor with a specific beginning and a specific end, designed to create a unique product or result. While replacing air filters is routine daily maintenance, completely replacing the entire HVAC system is a major project. Understanding this distinction is vital because projects require dedicated funding, specific timelines, and specialized management techniques that routine operations simply do not need. For the exam, always remember that a project has a definite finish line, whereas daily operations are ongoing and continuous. Every successful facility project follows a standard life cycle, beginning with the initiation phase. This is where the project is officially authorized by executive leadership through a document called a project charter. The project charter gives you, the facility manager, the formal authority to start spending company money and assigning internal resources to the work. Without an approved charter, you're essentially working on an unauthorized idea that could be cancelled or defunded at any moment. The exam will expect you to know that the initiation phase is all about defining the initial business need and securing formal executive approval. Once approved, you move directly into the planning phase, which is arguably the most critical stage of the entire project lifecycle. This is where you create the comprehensive project management plan, detailing exactly how the work will be executed, monitored, and controlled. A common mistake candidates make is rushing through planning to start the actual physical construction, which almost always leads to massive budget overruns. During planning, you define the complete scope of work, create the schedule, establish the budget, and identify potential risks. On the test, remember that a solid planning phase is your absolute best defense against project failure. Within the planning phase, defining the project scope is incredibly important because it dictates exactly what work is included and what work is strictly excluded. If you are renovating a restroom, the scope must specify if you are replacing the hidden plumbing behind the walls or simply installing new sinks and mirrors. If the scope is vague, you will fall victim to scope creep, which is the uncontrolled expansion of project requirements without adjustments to time or cost. Scope creep will slowly destroy your budget and timeline if you do not actively control it. The exam frequently tests your ability to protect the project scope from unauthorized changes. To keep the project on track, you must create a detailed schedule, and the most common visual tool for this is the Gantt chart. A Gantt chart is a horizontal bar chart that visually displays the start and finish dates of every single task in your project. It easily shows which tasks can happen at the same time and which tasks must wait for others to finish before they can begin. For instance, you can clearly see that painting the walls cannot start until the drywall installation is completely finished. You will need to recognize the Gantt chart on the exam as the standard scheduling tool for facility project managers. When building your schedule, you must also identify the critical path, which is the longest sequence of dependent tasks that must be completed on time for the project to finish by its deadline. If any single task on the critical path is delayed by even 1 day, the entire project completion date is delayed by 1 day. Other tasks not on the critical path have some built-in flexibility, known as float, meaning they can run slightly late without ruining the final deadline. The exam will heavily test your understanding that managing a project schedule means fiercely protecting every single task on the critical path. After planning is complete, you enter the execution phase, which is when the actual physical work finally begins. Your role as the facility manager shifts from planning to coordinating people, managing external contractors, and ensuring the work meets the quality standards you established. This phase consumes the most time and burns through the majority of your project budget, so careful oversight is absolutely essential. You will be holding regular progress meetings and communicating constantly with your stakeholders to keep everyone informed. For the certification, understand that execution requires strong leadership and constant, active communication. While the execution phase is happening, you are simultaneously performing the monitoring and controlling phase. This involves actively tracking the project's actual progress and comparing it directly against your original project management plan. If you discover that the electrical contractor is falling 2 weeks behind schedule, you must immediately take corrective action, like approving overtime pay or adding more workers to the job. Monitoring and controlling ensures that small deviations do not turn into massive, unrecoverable disasters. The exam expects you to actively manage these variances rather than just hoping the contractor eventually catches up. Despite your best planning, changes will inevitably happen during a project, and you must manage them through a formal change control process. If the marketing team suddenly decides they want expensive glass doors instead of standard wooden doors, they cannot just tell the contractor directly. They must submit a formal change request, which you will evaluate to determine exactly how it impacts the budget and the schedule. Only after the change is formally approved and funded can the contractor proceed with the new doors. Strict change control is a heavily tested concept because it protects the project from unauthorized financial surprises. As the project nears completion, you enter the closing phase, which begins with creating a punch list. A punch list is a detailed document that identifies all the minor flaws, missing items, or incomplete work that the contractor must fix before they receive their final payment. This could be a scratched painted wall, a missing light switch cover, or a door that does not latch properly. You never release the final project funds until every single item on the punch list has been completely resolved to your satisfaction. The exam will require you to know that the punch list is your final, strict quality control tool. The closing phase also includes the formal handover of the finished project to the daily operations team, complete with all necessary manuals, warranties, and staff training. Finally, you must conduct a lessons learned meeting with your project team to discuss what went perfectly and what failed miserably during the project. Documenting these lessons ensures that you repeat your successes and completely avoid the exact same mistakes on your next facility project. The certification board considers skipping the lessons learned meeting to be a major professional failure, so expect to see it on the exam. Shifting gears to facility technology, the most foundational tool is Computer-Aided Facility Management, or CAFM. CAFM software primarily focuses on space management, helping you track exactly how your physical floor plan is being used by different departments. It stores your digital blueprints and allows you to plan employee desk moves, track vacant workstations, and calculate the exact square footage assigned to each business unit. By using CAFM, you can optimize your real estate footprint and delay the expensive need to lease additional office space. You must recognize CAFM as the primary digital tool for space planning and utilization. The modern evolution of CAFM is the Integrated Workplace Management System, commonly known as IWMS. An IWMS is a massive, comprehensive software platform that combines space management, maintenance work orders, real estate leases, and environmental sustainability tracking into one single database. Instead of having 5 different software programs that cannot talk to each other, an IWMS gives you a unified dashboard for your entire facility portfolio. Because it shares data across all departments seamlessly, it is an incredibly powerful tool for high-level strategic decision-making. The exam will test your knowledge of IWMS as the ultimate enterprise software for facility leaders. Today's facilities are rapidly transforming into smart buildings, driven largely by the Internet of Things, or IoT. The Internet of Things simply means embedding cheap, wireless sensors into everyday building objects, allowing them to collect data and connect to the Internet. You can put an IoT sensor on a soap dispenser to tell you exactly when it is empty, or place them under desks to track which workstations are actually being used throughout the day. This real-time data allows you to manage the facility based on actual human behavior rather than just guessing. Expect exam questions about how IoT technology drastically improves operational efficiency. During major construction or renovation projects, you will likely encounter building information modeling, known as BIM. BIM is a highly detailed, 3-dimensional digital model of the building that includes physical dimensions as well as data about the materials, wiring, and plumbing hidden inside the walls. Unlike a flat 2-dimensional paper blueprint, a BIM model allows you to virtually walk through the building and detect design clashes before actual construction begins. Once the building is finished, the BIM model becomes an incredibly valuable reference tool for your daily maintenance team. The exam frequently positions BIM as the modern standard for construction documentation. With all these smart sensors and connected systems, cybersecurity has become a massive responsibility for the modern facility manager. Your building automation system, HVAC controls, and digital security cameras are all connected to networks, making them prime targets for computer hackers. If a hacker gains access to your smart thermostat, they can potentially use it as a backdoor to steal sensitive corporate data from the main company servers. You must work hand in hand with your information technology department to ensure all facility systems are placed on secure, protected networks. The exam will heavily emphasize your role in protecting building technology from dangerous cyber threats. Implementing new facility technology is totally useless if your staff refuses to actually use it. A common exam scenario involves a facility manager buying an expensive new software system only to find the maintenance team is still using paperwork orders out of habit. Successful technology adoption requires extensive, hands-on training and clear communication about how the new system will make the employees' daily jobs easier and safer. You must champion the technology and provide ongoing support to overcome the natural human resistance to learning new digital tools. Remember that user adoption is just as important as the technology itself. Ultimately, all this project management software and smart building technology serves one primary purpose, which is to enable data-driven decision-making. As a certified facility manager, you can no longer rely on intuition or anecdotal complaints to manage your multi-million-dollar budgets. When you can present executives with hard data showing exact workspace utilization rates or specific energy savings from a recent project, your recommendations become totally undeniable. The exam wants to verify that you are a modern leader who uses objective data and powerful technology to continuously improve the workplace environment. Congratulations on completing this highly technical section on project management and technology. I strongly encourage you to take the attached practice test right now to reinforce your understanding of project lifecycles and modern facility software. Completing these practice questions will significantly boost your retention and ensure you are totally prepared to tackle these topics on the actual exam. The practice test is included directly with this lesson, so please dive in and test your knowledge immediately. Keep up the excellent active learning, and I will see you in the next section where we will master real estate and property management. Welcome to the fifth section of our course, focusing on real estate and property management. In this lesson, you will learn how to strategically manage physical properties, evaluate lease agreements, and optimize your organization's entire real estate portfolio. This topic is critically important because real estate is almost always a company's second highest expense after employee salaries. We are going to explore how to align physical space with business needs while protecting the organization's financial interests. Get ready to master the world of property assets and lease administration. Real estate management in facilities goes far beyond just paying the rent. It involves treating physical buildings as strategic financial assets. Your goal is to provide spaces that foster productivity while keeping occupancy costs as low as possible for the business. This means constantly evaluating whether your company should lease, buy, or even sell its corporate facilities based on current economic conditions and company growth. When you manage real estate strategically, you directly improve the company's bottom line. For the exam, always view real estate through both an operational lens and a financial lens. One of the most fundamental real estate decisions is choosing whether to lease or own your facility space. Leasing provides incredible flexibility, allowing a growing company to easily expand or relocate to a new building when their current lease term ends. On the other hand, owning your property builds long-term equity and gives you total control over the building's operations and physical modifications. However, buying ties up massive amounts of capital that could otherwise be used to grow the core business. Exam questions will frequently test your ability to weigh the financial pros and cons of leasing versus owning. When your company chooses to lease, you must become familiar with the lease agreement, which is a legally binding contract between the tenant and the landlord. A standard commercial lease dictates everything from how much rent you pay to who is legally responsible for fixing a broken roof or paying property taxes. Because these documents are heavily weighted in favor of the landlord, you must review every single clause carefully to protect your company from hidden costs. A common mistake candidates make is assuming commercial leases are standard and unchangeable. The exam will expect you to know that commercial leases are always negotiable. Commercial leases come in several distinct structures, and understanding the differences is a guaranteed topic on the certification exam. In a gross lease, you pay a single, flat monthly rent to the landlord, and they use that money to cover all operating expenses, property taxes, and insurance. This is very popular with tenants because it makes budgeting simple and shifts all the risk of rising utility costs onto the landlord. Under a net lease, however, you pay a lower base rent but agree to pay a pro rata share of the building's operating expenses, taxes, and maintenance costs. You must know how to calculate and distinguish between gross and net lease obligations. Within net leases, you will often encounter triple net leases, commonly referred to as NNN leases. In a triple net lease, the tenant pays the base rent plus 3 separate operational costs, which are building insurance, property taxes, and common area maintenance. This structure is extremely common in retail and industrial real estate, placing the financial burden of building upkeep directly on the business occupying the space. While it gives the tenant a high level of control over how maintenance is performed, it also exposes them to unpredictable cost spikes if the roof suddenly leaks. The exam will test your understanding of risk allocation in triple net lease agreements. Another critical aspect of lease administration is tracking key lease dates and milestones using a centralized real estate database. If your lease requires you to give the landlord 12 months of advance notice before you decide to renew, missing that exact date can be catastrophic. Missing a renewal window might force you to move unexpectedly or allow the landlord to dramatically increase your rent without warning. A professional facility manager always maintains an active calendar of option periods, expiration dates, and rent escalation clauses. Exam scenarios will often highlight the danger of missing critical lease deadlines. Managing your physical space requires a clear understanding of how square footage is measured and calculated in commercial real estate. You cannot simply measure the usable square footage, which is the actual space your employees occupy inside their specific office walls. You must also account for the rentable square footage, which includes your pro rata share of shared building areas like lobbies, hallways, and public restrooms. Landlords use a load factor to convert usable space into rentable space by multiplying the usable area by a building efficiency percentage. The exam expects you to know how to calculate and explain these space measurements to financial executives. Space planning also involves analyzing your space utilization rate, which tells you how efficiently your company is actually using the real estate it pays for. If you lease 10,000 square feet of office space, but half of the desks sit empty every day due to hybrid work schedules, you have terrible space utilization. Modern facility managers solve this by introducing flexible seating arrangements, shared workstations, and hoteling software where employees reserve a desk only when they're in the office. Improving space utilization allows you to downsize your real estate footprint and save millions of dollars. Expect the exam to focus heavily on modern space optimization strategies. When designing your office layout, you must balance open-plan workspaces with private areas to support different work styles and mental health. Open offices foster collaboration and save money by fitting more people into a smaller footprint, but they also create massive distractions and noise complaints. To fix this, you must provide alternative spaces like quiet focus rooms, phone booths, and collaborative lounges where employees can work without interruption. A smart workplace design accommodates both individual concentration and team collaboration. The exam will test your ability to design layouts that maximize productivity while addressing employee comfort. Real estate management also includes asset management, which means tracking and maintaining the physical furniture, fixtures, and equipment owned by the company. You need a detailed asset tag system and a computerized database to record the purchase date, initial cost, current location, and depreciation status of every physical item. This inventory is vital for corporate accounting, insurance claims, and planning future replacement cycles when office furniture wears out. If an item is lost or stolen, your asset tracking system ensures you can report it accurately. The exam values strict administrative control over all physical corporate assets. When a company outgrows its current facility or wants to move to a better location, the facility manager steps in to lead the relocation project. An office move is a massive operational undertaking that requires coordinating IT network setups, furniture installations, and employee communications months in advance. You must create a phased moving schedule to ensure that business operations experience zero downtime and employees can sit at their new desks ready to work on day one. A poorly planned move will destroy employee morale and cost the company a fortune in lost productivity. The exam views office relocations as complex projects requiring rigorous planning and risk management. Property management also requires maintaining strong relationships with external property managers and commercial landlords. Even if you lease just one floor in a massive skyscraper, you must interact regularly with the building's property management team regarding security, elevator maintenance, and loading dock access. Clear, professional communication with the landlord ensures that your maintenance complaints are handled quickly and your employees enjoy a safe, functional environment. A common exam mistake is assuming tenants have no influence over building-wide operations. True facility leaders actively partner with landlords to advocate for their occupants. Environmental due diligence is a mandatory step whenever your company is considering leasing or purchasing a new piece of property. Before signing any final contracts, you must conduct a thorough environmental site assessment to check for hidden hazards like asbestos, lead paint, or soil contamination. Inheriting a contaminated property can expose your company to millions of dollars in unexpected cleanup costs and severe legal liabilities. The exam will hold you strictly responsible for knowing that environmental inspections must happen long before any real estate deal is finalized. ADA compliance, or adherence to the Americans with Disabilities Act, is another non-negotiable legal requirement in real estate and property management. Every facility you manage must provide equal access for individuals with disabilities, including proper wheelchair ramps, accessible restroom stalls, automatic door openers, and clear signage. Failing to meet ADA standards is not only unethical, it results in devastating lawsuits, massive financial penalties, and reputational damage for the organization. On the exam, accessibility and life safety compliance always take absolute priority over aesthetic design choices or cost-cutting measures. You must also understand the concept of property disposition, which is the formal process of selling, subleasing, or walking away from real estate you no longer need. If your company transitions to a permanent remote work model, you might find yourself with excess office space that is actively draining your budget. Disposing of this unneeded real estate through a strategic sublease or early lease termination requires careful legal and financial coordination. The exam will test your ability to recognize when a facility is underperforming and how to strategically divest from unneeded property assets. Facility managers must also manage the physical security and access control of their properties as part of property management. This involves implementing visitor management systems, issuing secure ID badges, and positioning security cameras to protect both employees and physical assets. You must balance the need for a welcoming, open corporate culture with the absolute necessity of keeping unauthorized individuals out of the building. Security protocols must be integrated directly into the physical layout of the building's entrances and exits. The exam heavily emphasizes physical security as a core pillar of property management. Parking and traffic flow are frequently overlooked property management responsibilities that heavily impact daily employee satisfaction. If your building does not have enough parking spaces, or if the traffic flow around the loading dock is chaotic, you will hear immediate complaints from both staff and delivery drivers. You must manage parking assignments, maintain pavement striping, ensure adequate lighting for evening shifts, and coordinate with local traffic authorities if necessary. The exam tests your ability to manage the entire property perimeter, not just the interior office space. Managing property documentation is the final administrative shield that protects your organization from legal and financial disputes. You must maintain organized, up-to-date archives of all building blueprints, lease contracts, equipment warranties, inspection certificates, and insurance policies. If a legal dispute arises over who was responsible for maintaining a broken water pipe, your archived lease agreement provides the definitive answer. A disorganized file system is an invitation for operational failure. The certification exam expects you to maintain meticulous records for every square foot of real estate under your control. Congratulations on successfully completing this comprehensive section on real estate and property management. I strongly encourage you to complete the attached practice test right now, while these critical lease administration and space planning concepts are still fresh in your mind. Working through practice questions is proven to dramatically improve your long-term retention and build the exact confidence you need for exam day. The practice test is included directly with this lesson, so take full advantage of it to reinforce everything we just covered. Keep up this fantastic momentum, and I will see you in our final section where we will explore emergency preparedness, risk management, and sustainability. Welcome to the final section of our course, focusing on emergency preparedness, risk management, and sustainability. In this lesson, you will learn how to protect your organization from catastrophic disasters while driving long-term environmental stewardship across your facility portfolio. This topic is arguably the most critical responsibility of a certified facility manager because human life safety and planetary health are always top priorities. We are going to explore how to build robust emergency response plans, mitigate workplace risks, and implement cutting-edge green building practices. Get ready to master the strategies that safeguard your people, your property, and our global future. Emergency preparedness starts with the absolute understanding that life safety is your number one priority in facility management. No matter how tight your budget is or how strict your deadlines are, protecting the physical safety of employees and visitors always comes first. You must design, test, and maintain facilities that allow people to escape safely during fires, natural disasters, or active threats. When taking the exam, If a question pits cost savings or operational speed against human life safety, the correct choice will always protect human life without hesitation. To prepare for the unexpected, every facility must have a comprehensive emergency action plan, commonly known as an EAP. An EAP is a written document that clearly outlines what every employee must do during specific crises like tornadoes, earthquakes, active shooters, or hazardous material spills. It identifies evacuation routes, designated assembly points, and specific roles for trained staff members who act as floor wardens during an emergency. A common mistake candidates make is writing an EAP and leaving it on a shelf to gather dust. The exam expects you to know that an EAP must be regularly reviewed, updated, and practiced through live drills. Conducting regular emergency drills is mandatory to ensure that panic does not override safety when a real crisis strikes. If your building never practices a fire drill, people will freeze, hesitate, or use blocked stairwells during an actual emergency, leading to tragic results. Your drills should test different scenarios, evaluate evacuation times, and identify bottlenecks in your stairwells or exit doors so you can fix them immediately. Documenting these drills proves to local fire marshals and insurance companies that your building takes safety seriously. The exam will heavily test your commitment to routine safety training and live practice drills. Business continuity management goes a step further than emergency response, focusing on how the company continues to operate after a disaster occurs. While emergency response saves lives during the first hour, business continuity ensures the company does not go bankrupt in the weeks following a major flood or fire. This involves setting up backup data centers, securing alternative office locations, and ensuring critical supply chains remain unbroken. As a facility manager, you work closely with IT and executive leadership to ensure your buildings can bounce back quickly. Expect exam questions on how business continuity bridges physical facility repairs with corporate survival. Risk management is the ongoing process of identifying, analyzing, and mitigating all the various dangers that could harm your facility or its occupants. You start by conducting a comprehensive risk assessment to find vulnerabilities, such as a backup generator that lacks fuel storage or a server room located in a known flood zone. Once you identify these risks, you must decide whether to avoid them, reduce them, transfer them through insurance, or accept them. The certification exam frequently tests your ability to choose the correct risk mitigation strategy based on probability and potential impact. Physical security is a massive component of overall risk management, requiring a layered approach to keep unauthorized individuals out of your building. This defense in-depth strategy starts at the property perimeter with gates and lighting, moves to the building exterior with secure doors, and ends at interior checkpoints like turnstiles and badge readers. If an intruder manages to bypass your outer fence, they still have to get past your security guards and electronic door locks. This layered approach buys precious time for security personnel to respond to a threat. The exam expects you to know that security cannot rely on a single lock or camera. Environmental health and safety, often abbreviated as EHS, governs the day-to-day conditions that protect workers from illness and injury. EHS programs cover everything from ensuring proper chemical labeling in your maintenance closet to monitoring indoor air quality in manufacturing floors. You must comply with strict government regulations, such as OSHA standards, to prevent workplace accidents and massive regulatory fines. A facility manager must conduct regular safety walkthroughs to catch hazards like frayed electrical cords or wet floors before someone gets hurt. Exam questions will frequently highlight your direct legal accountability for workplace safety. You must also know how to properly handle hazardous materials, commonly referred to as hazmat, within your facility. Materials like asbestos, lead paint, cleaning chemicals, and fluorescent light tubes containing mercury require specialized storage, handling, and disposal procedures. Throwing chemical waste into a standard dumpster is a severe federal offense that can destroy your company's reputation and result in massive jail time. You must maintain strict material safety data sheets, now called safety data sheets, for every chemical on your property. The exam guards hazmat regulations fiercely, so expect multiple questions on proper chemical compliance. Shifting our focus to sustainability, facility managers play the leading role in reducing the environmental impact of the built environment. Buildings account for a massive percentage of global energy consumption and carbon emissions, meaning your operational choices genuinely matter on a planetary scale. Sustainable facility management, often called green building management, means meeting the needs of the present without compromising the ability of future generations to meet theirs. This is no longer just a nice corporate public relations effort. It is a core business strategy driven by strict laws and rising energy costs. The exam treats sustainability as a fundamental professional competency. Energy management is the easiest and most impactful place to start your sustainability journey, focusing heavily on reducing overall kilowatt-hour consumption. You can achieve massive energy savings by upgrading to LED lighting, installing occupancy sensors, optimizing your HVAC run schedules, and sealing drafty windows. Lowering your energy use not only reduces greenhouse gas emissions, but it also drops your utility bills, making it an easy sell to financial executives. The exam will expect you to calculate or identify how simple energy efficiency measures deliver a fantastic return on investment. Water conservation is another critical pillar of environmental stewardship, especially in regions facing severe droughts and rising water utility costs. You can dramatically cut your water consumption by installing low-flow restroom fixtures, touchless sensor faucets, dual-flush toilets, and smart irrigation systems for your landscaping. You can also explore greywater recycling systems, which capture used sink and shower water and filter it for flushing toilets. On the test, water efficiency is recognized as a vital strategy for protecting natural resources and lowering operating expenses. Waste management and recycling programs require a complete shift from simply throwing trash away to achieving zero waste to landfill goals. A comprehensive waste program includes providing clearly labeled recycling bins, composting organic food waste from cafeterias, and partnering with certified electronic waste recyclers. You must audit your waste streams regularly to see what materials your building is producing and find ways to reduce or recycle them before they hit the dumpster. The exam frequently tests your ability to implement holistic waste reduction strategies across corporate campuses. To validate your facility's green building efforts, you should become familiar with recognized rating systems like LEED, which stands for Leadership in Energy and Environmental Design. LEED is a globally accepted certification system that evaluates a building's environmental performance across categories like energy, water, materials, and indoor air quality. Achieving a LEED certification proves to clients, employees, and investors that your building is genuinely sustainable and high-performing. Exam questions will often ask you to identify the specific benefits or rating levels associated with green building certifications like LEED. Another important standard you must know for the exam is the Energy Star program, managed by the government to track building energy efficiency. Energy Star provides a free benchmarking tool where you input your monthly utility bills and square footage to receive a score from 1 to 100. If your building scores are 75 or higher, it is officially recognized as one of the most energy efficient buildings in the country and can earn the Energy Star label. The exam heavily favors Energy Star as the standard tool for measuring and comparing building energy performance. Sustainability also encompasses indoor environmental quality, ensuring that the air you breathe and the light you work under promote good health. We achieve this by maximizing natural daylight, using low-emitting paints and carpets that do not release harmful chemical fumes, and maintaining clean HVAC filtration systems. Poor indoor environmental quality leads directly to sick building syndrome, a condition where building occupants experience acute health and comfort effects linked directly to time spent in the space. The exam tests your ability to maintain healthy, breathable, and comfortable indoor workspaces. Climate change resilience is a rapidly growing topic in facility management, requiring you to protect your buildings against increasingly severe weather events. If your corporate headquarters is located near a coastline or a river, you must design your facility to withstand severe flooding, extreme heatwaves, or high wind hurricanes. Resilience means hardening your infrastructure by elevating electrical equipment above flood levels, reinforcing roofs, and installing backup power generators. The exam will challenge you to think ahead and protect physical assets from the worsening impacts of climate change. When implementing any major sustainability initiative, you must be careful to avoid greenwashing, which is the deceptive practice of marketing a product or building as eco-friendly when it actually is not. For example, claiming your building is green just because you changed the lobby light bulbs while your HVAC system leaks energy everywhere is classic greenwashing. To maintain professional integrity, All your sustainability claims must be backed by hard data, third-party certifications, and measurable reductions in resource use. The certification board strictly condemns greenwashing and tests your ability to drive genuine environmental performance. True facility leadership requires integrating all these elements, emergency preparedness, risk mitigation, and sustainability, into a unified, proactive management culture. You cannot treat safety as an afterthought or sustainability as a marketing gimmick. They must be woven into the daily operational fabric of your department. When you master these advanced concepts, you protect your organization's physical assets, ensure the continuous well-being of your workforce, and secure a sustainable future for the business. The CFM exam is designed to certify leaders who can handle these complex, high-stakes responsibilities with total confidence and professionalism. Congratulations on successfully completing this final section on emergency preparedness, risk management, and sustainability, as well as the entire CFM exam preparation course. I strongly encourage you to complete the attached practice test right now to lock in your mastery of these critical topics before exam day. Working through comprehensive practice questions is proven to dramatically improve your retention and build the exact mental stamina you need to pass the certification exam. The practice test is included directly with this lesson, so take full advantage of it to complete your active learning journey. Best of luck on your path to becoming a certified facility manager.